Hey everybody, Pete Gluzek here at the Dean's Office for Bass University TV, and I want to talk to you today about docks. It's the week of June 1st, and we've just launched James Watson's seminar on how he attacks a dock. And it's a really unique perspective, and he gives away some really good stuff that I just really haven't seen or heard of before. But he uses a couple techniques, some that I'm really familiar with. One is a brown jig. Which jigs, I'm a power fisherman, great weapon around docks. And he talks about using a drop shot. Now, a drop shot is a really powerful tool to be fishing around docks. The drop shot can catch fish that those power tools can't sometimes. And this time of year, particularly in the area where I'm fishing, the fish are spawning and post-spawn, and they can be very tricky to catch. And that drop shot bait can be extremely effective at catching bass that those power tools will miss this time of year. So develop your skills with a drop shot and develop your casting. That's probably the best tip that I can give to an angler is when you're dock fishing, you've got to be proficient at a lot of different casts, whether it's the backhand skip cast with a spinning rod or the forehand skip cast. Whether it's trying to skip a jig with a bait casting equipment, you need the roll cast forehand, the reverse roll cast backhand. You've got to be able to pitch and flip to be able to hit those targets. Some docks, you've only got this much space to get your bait in, but you get it in there and you're going to have a shot at a giant fish. If you can't get it in there, you're not going to have that opportunity. So you got to be able to cast very accurately. I recommend practice casting. A lot of anglers don't do it, but it will really help you when it comes to dock fishing. Now, he talks at length about using tools called the flutter spoon, fishing around docks. Now, where he's from, there's a lot of suspended docks, or floating docks, I should say. Bass suspend under them, and these docks can be 60, 70 feet deep, up to about 10, 20 feet deep. And he uses a flutter spoon to trigger the strikes because fish tend to school up in certain areas. You really got to go into this. He was a little apprehensive about spilling the beans on this technique because he used it in the MLF. Some of you may have seen it to great success. Catching fish after fish and just crushing them in an MLF event. So that's the flutter spoon. It's a very unique technique to be fishing around docks. Honestly, it's one that I have not used in the docks in my area, but you can bet I'm going to be doing some flutter spoon fishing after watching James's seminar. Now, I love to fish docks, and dock fishing is such an important part of fishing. No matter where you are in the country, we have docks. Some of them have permanent fixed poles. Some of them are floating. Some of them are the metal docks that roll in and roll out depending on the water level, or the ice depending on what part of the country you're from. But guess what? Every single one of them can hold fish. And James talks a little bit about fishing deep docks, but he also talks about fishing shallow docks. And I promise you, you can't go shallow enough to catch big bass off of docks. And I'm talking about 6 inches. A lot of times when I'm fishing docks, I go around the back of the dock. I'm fishing the walkways. The walkway where it attaches to the bank and the walkway where it attaches to the main part of the dock. These are huge places to catch a bass. And a lot of guys that try dock fishing don't go to the effort that they need to catch those fish. They may fish the outer corners, try to skip under that dock a little bit, but they won't go all the way around the back of it because there may be cables there, maybe tight quarters. But that a lot of times is where the really, really big fish are. Now, in my part of the country, a lot of our docks are built on pilings, wooden pilings that are driven down into the mud and the soil down there. Now, the best pilings are the pilings that are set right next to an old piling. Docks take a beating, and what happens is the pilings start to get cracked due to ice or wave action. And eventually the dock owner has to put a new dock in. And what they'll do is they'll put a new piling right next to an old piling. And they'll create these piling clusters. When you see that, those new pilings right next to the old pilings, man, that is a huge target. Fish love to get around that kind of stuff. So that's definitely a target. We also have these triple piling systems. We call them dolphins down here. And they're satellites around the docks. And they're mainly there to protect the docks from ice. And those triple pilings, you know, where they set up like that, they create this little teepee, and bats will spawn on them. They will guard their fry on them. And then in the post spawn, the ones that are out in the current, they will feed on them. So those satellite pilings and it doesn't have to be the triple pilings. It can just be individual pilings around docks that can be exceptional, especially ones that are out in the current in the post spawn and summertime patterns. So look for those old pilings, those double, triple clusters. Man, they're great little targets on docks. And what else I look for is anything unique with respect to vegetation. When some docks are built inside the grass lines, the ones that are built that intersect the grass lines, grass grows right up to those docks. They are some of the best docks. A lot of times that's key. What happens is the dock itself blocks light. Grass won't grow under the dock. So there's grass lines and outside edges, inside edges, and of grass that really the fish relate to. They use as ambush opportunities to come out and grab a snack, grab a bluegill, and you know, so grass and docks are absolutely key. One of the things that I'd like to add to your dock fishing arsenal is cranking docks. A lot of guys don't do that, but where I live, cranking docks is key. It really generates a lot of bites, a lot of big fish, and I fish a crankbait similarly to the way that I would fish a jig or a flipping bait. I flip to the pilings. I flip cast underneath the docks, and I crank down adjacent to those vertical pilings. What I'm trying to do is get as close to them as I can, or even better, hit them and create that deflection strike. And I will pitch and flip to the outer sides. I'll try to get as deep under the dock as I can, and I'll flip the pilings all the way up to the bank, trying to intersect them. A lot of docks don't get to see a crankbait. The fish that are on the docks don't see that. They might see a jig, they might see even a Senko, but having a crankbait rip past that piling and deflect off of it, it can trigger strikes from really, really big fish. So try flipping crankbaits around your docks. That'll really help you. And man, if you're anything like me, I'm going to take that flutter spoon that James talked about and taught us about, and I'm going to put that right to work out on the docks in my area to see what kind of reaction strikes that I can get from fishing that flutter spoon. But next week, we've got some great new seminars coming for you, as always, here at Bass University TV. My part 2 on how to fish for spawning fish that you can't see. If the water's stained, if it's too deep or tidal like it is around here, and you can't actively sight fish for those bass, I tell you how to find the colonies of spawning fish in part 2. Last week I told you the tools that I use to catch them. This week I take you out on the water and I show you how to locate those spawning fish. So check that out. That's coming next week, as well as Mark Daniels Jr., who's having an exceptional year out on the Bassmaster Elites this year as his rookie season. Great to see it, Mark. Keep it going, buddy. And he's going to be teaching us about how he uses finesse tools in heavy cover situations. What a great deal. If you're fishing a lake that has heavy fishing pressure, man, what a great skill set to have, to be able to go behind other boats with ultra finesse tactics and catch those fish that other people are missing. And it's also exceptional around high pressure, bluebird situations, really clear water situations. Mark breaks that down for us, so look for that. That's all coming next week here at Bass University TV, and many more coming every single week. And I'll be right here to tell you all about it. I'm Pete Gluzek from the Dean's Office for Bass University TV.